Welcome to Mother Daughter Projects. I'm Steph.
I'm Vicki, and today we're going to share about a brand new tool that we just purchased, the Dremel Blueprint Saw Station.
First, we're going to share all about how the tool works. Then we're going to share some of our favorite features of it. Then we'll share some fail features. Then we'll end by answering the question, is this the best portable saw station for DIYers?
Let's find out. Now, like we said, we bought this a few weeks ago from Amazon, and both of us have been trying it out. Now, Dremel promotes this as a way of cutting flooring, trim, and small DIY projects.
This is how the box arrived to us, and it's very simple to unbox it, and here's the product. Once you open the product, there's a sheet that has a QR code on it that you can scan, and there's a great video from Dremel that shows you a quick look at all of the features of the tool and how to use it. There's also a manual, and always read your manuals. We really like that everything you need is all contained inside the one box. Now, Dremel promotes this as cutting in 4 ways, and those ways are a bevel cut, a miter cut, a straight cut, and a rip cut. Now, I would consider a straight cut and a rip cut about the same thing, but 3 to 4 ways you can use this tool. And I think they say the rip cut because it actually comes with a guide that you can actually put on the saw for cutting bigger pieces of lumber if it won't fit within the rails that are within the box. We started by making straight cuts within the rail system, and it's really simple. You just bump it up against the top and you have a nice straight line to cut against. Now at the top you can also adjust the angle if you want to make a miter cut. And something I noticed is as I was turning it, there's little indentions at popular spots where you'd want to make a cut, like 45 degrees, and you can actually feel when it is in that groove and you hear a little bit of a sound, so you know that you're right on the right spot and you get a perfect 45-degree angle.
To use the station to cut a bevel, there are 2 additional pieces that you need to add to the top of the station, and they're right here underneath. You just take those out and they fit into little holes in the top of the station. Then you adjust your saw, and there are obvious marks where you need to set this, and we're setting it at 45 degrees. You turn that little blue knob and tighten it and you're ready to go. Now those risers do take up some of the space between the station and the top of the rail, and the first piece we had tried to use was a piece that was bigger and we couldn't fit, and we did measure it and the space is about 1/2 inch. Standard piece of baseboard would work fine. Tested it out and made that bevel cut and it was perfect. You probably noticed as we've been cutting that we've clamped one side of the wood to the station, and those clamps are included in the station. And there's a T-rail in there, and you just slip that in there and tighten it down. It keeps your workpiece secure.
Now you are limited on the size of the wood that can fit within the rail system that you put the saw into, but it also includes a cutting guide that you can put onto the saw, and then you can cut larger pieces of wood. And I did try this out. I tried it with a very thin piece of wood, and I don't think it's necessarily supposed to work with this size because the guide actually went around my wood, but it still worked. And then I tried it with a typical piece of plywood, and it cut very well on this as well. You do get a little bit of tear out with this type of blade because it's not a super fine blade. So you just want to be aware that when you're cutting, usually the top should be the bottom because that's where you're going to get the most cut out.
Another really great feature that they include is a way to cut 2x4s, and it's a little plastic guide, and you actually just clamp it to the piece of wood and you cut one side, flip it over and cut the other, and it works. It is so great.
So it's not something you'd want to cut a bunch of 2x4s with, since you'd have to do both sides, but if you just have one saw and you need to cut a 2x4 here and there, I think it's a great solution. So those are the features of the portable saw station. There also is a dust port, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and there's a little sawhorse, which if you need to cut something a little bit longer that hangs off, you could use that. We didn't find a need for that yet, but it's really cute. We're glad we have it. All right, now on to our favorite features of the saw.
Well, to me, the obvious feature is it's all here together. It's all in one box. So if you're like doing say a flooring project and you have any of the tools, you could get this and you'll be able to cut all those flooring pieces. So it's so nice that everything is included in here.
Now it also has a great battery life. Now we only have one battery. It came with one battery, and I charged it once when we got it, and I have not charged it since. And we've been using this for a couple weeks now, like I said. So I think it has a great battery life. We're down to 2 ticks, but it's still working fine.
And we have to talk about, this is the best feature of it, is this little saw is very light, it's very manageable. If you needed to, you could actually cut something without a guide, but we would always use a guide, but it's a great little tool. And it's not intimidating like a miter saw. I think a miter saw is a little intimidating, and certainly not as intimidating as a full-size circular saw. So a good tool for someone who is just starting out or just has a few things that they need to do.
Now, those are some of our favorite features, but we also have to share some of the fail features. So these are some things that we tried and we don't think are great as part of this, and we just want to be honest with them. So the very first one is the dust collection. Now, it does come with a little adapter that fits into this hole right here, and that's where the dust, when you cut something, is supposed to come out. Goes into the little adapter, and then you're supposed to be able to put your wet dry vac attached to that and collect all the sawdust so there's no glitter around your workshop. Well, we have multiple wet dry vacs, and we tried this with every one of them, and we always needed another adapter on top of the adapter for this, and then it would make the tool askew in the rail, and we'd have to hold it in place with the adapter. And then even after all of that, it didn't collect that much of the dust. There was still dust that came off of the tool, and the only thing that worked the best for fitting in was actually a really small wet dry vac we have from Ryobi, but that didn't suck enough to really get much of the sawdust. So really not a good dust collection system for this. So our solution would be for Dremel to make something specifically for this that we could purchase, a wet dry vac that would work with this. Or a lot of tools will come with a bag where it will collect the dust. It won't be as good as a wet dry vac, but it will collect the dust. So sanders have those and some miter saws have those, and that would be better than what this is, because even if we could get the dust collection, it still kind of went everywhere. And speaking of the dust, it's really annoying because the dust will get into the box, and that's your storage box as well as your work surface. So you have to make sure you get that cleaned out and out of the crevices so it doesn't mess with the integrity of the box. And then this is something that's so portable that you'd want to be able to take it inside when you're cutting trim or flooring, but because you can't really get the dust collected very well, you're gonna have dust in your house, so you can't really work in the spot. So not great solution when it comes to dust.
Now this box is made of plastic, and it does have a very fragile feel to it, and I think it's something that you have to really be careful with. And when you open it, just be sure you're not slamming it around and just opening those panels gingerly so that you're not stripping the little hinges or anything like that. So I'm not sure how long it will last, but you know, it's fine for now, so we will see. Time will tell.
Now Dremel only makes 2 blades for this, and it is kind of a specific blade. And their 2 blades, basically, one is for wood, it says, and the other is for multiple materials, which includes wood. So we're not really sure the difference in the blades. I emailed Dremel, and I just got the same answer the website says. They look identical to me. So you don't have a lot of options when it comes to blades. I did find some maybe other companies that make blades that might fit it, but we did have a Dremel tool in the past that they no longer make, a tool similar to this, and we can't find blades for it anymore. So that is kind of limiting. So just keep that in mind. If you get something like this, make sure you have some blades on hand and for future proofing.
Now there is something inside the box. There's a little rectangle that we're not sure what it's for. It looks like a whiteboard, so we tried a dry erase marker. That didn't work. It didn't erase. And then there's like a little hand that's like writing, so it kind of looks like a pencil, so we decided to write on it with pencil. That doesn't work either. So then I tried to clean it with all kinds of cleaners. Nothing takes it off. So I think it's a super feature if you could actually use it, because it'd be great if you could just jot down the numbers that you have. But Dremel, what is that?
So we had a project recently where we needed to cut a very thin piece of decorative trim. So we tried using this product for it, and it really splintered the wood on multiple tries. We finally did get one cut that was pretty clean, but we had to go through a lot of materials to get there. So in our case, we ended up using the miter saw to make those cuts. So just keep in mind, it may not cut every single type of trim, and you might have to go through some extra material trying to get a nice clean cut. And now we have come to the end where it's time to answer, is this the best compact saw station for DIY?
Well, we do need to point out that this is the only compact station that we've seen. There may be others out there, but we don't know of them. But this is something literally you can go buy at the store, bring it home, open it up. There's a little tiny charge on that battery. You can just start using it. It's way less intimidating than a larger saw, and it's very easy and it's very practical.
Now we would say this is a great product for a casual DIYer or a basic homeowner that doesn't have a huge amount of woodworking needs. And this is actually going to live at my house. So our main workshop's at Mom's house, but here at my house I usually just have my car in the garage and just don't have a lot of space for the bigger tools. So this will be great when I just need to make smaller cuts. Even with all those fail features, it still has enough features that we are happy with it, and we think it's going to be a great product. We've been happy with Dremel products that we have also. Thanks for joining. If you want to see see more projects from us, be sure to visit us at motherdaughterprojects.com and join our weekly newsletter where Mom writes it and shares all about what we're working on.